All right, everybody, early morning at the lake. Been getting some wipers out here. See some surface activity, a lot of shad moving around, calm water. Gonna be a warm day today. I'm hoping for an early morning bite here. It's a Saturday, so if they do start blowing up, it could get really crazy. I'm just gonna try and keep out of other people's way. We're just kind of in a small little inlet of the lake here, so there's not a ton of room. People throwing from the bank, boats coming in. It could all happen if they start blowing up, but I'm gonna do my best to stay out of everybody's way and yeah, hopefully catch a wiper or two. I don't usually like to fish these crowded spots on days like this, on weekends. Fishing's been good enough that I might be able to catch a few even if it's crowded. Alright, thanks for watching. Let's do it.
So on this day I got out there and right away there's a little bit of surface activity. Not a lot of surface activity, but a little bit. And I just started casting to that area, and there must have been a ton of fish underneath the water because I just started getting fish like crazy. This is about a 3-pounder. There's a lot of fish in this lake that are this size. A lot of 3-pounders. I've had people tell me that wipers stay with wipers and white bass stay with white bass, and they don't mix when they're feeding. But in my experience, I always see them mixed. I'll catch a white bass, I'll catch a wiper, and they're feeding side by side with each other. This is a good example of why if you see a lot of surface activity and then it dies down, you just need to keep casting to the same area, because there's still fish around under the surface trying to pick off any wounded bait fish that are falling down to the bottom, and so that's a perfect time to throw swim bait, and that's what I'm doing right here. The lure I'm using for all these catches is an EFH Banshee. You can check in the description if you want to get more information on that lure. I couldn't see any topwater blowups at this point, so I just decided to keep casting that area where I knew there was probably still fish around. And that area just kept producing, even though I wasn't seeing a lot of topwater strikes anymore.
It's every cast action right now.
A lot of times you can give yourself a better chance of catching a bigger fish like a wiper as opposed to a white bass just by listening to how hard they're hitting the water. In this particular situation, you can hear that the blowups are a lot louder than the ones before, and that's because these are wipers, and there's probably a lot of really good size ones in here. Super fun fighting these fish in this little boat because they just tow you around, they spin you around. It's a whole lot of fun being in this tiny boat trying to fight these big fish.
This is a good one. This is a good one. This might be a good one. Don't rush it, don't rush it. This is a good one. He's staying down real good all of a sudden. Come on. This is a good fish, I think. Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a big one. On the EFH Banshee right there. There it is right there. It's probably a 6-pounder.
Seemed like there were a lot of white bass around on this particular day, because when there wasn't a lot of blowups going and I couldn't choose which fish I wanted to cast to, I was getting a lot of white bass. This particular fish caught me really by surprise. I knew they were there, I knew they would probably hit. But the violent way in which they hit the bait really caught me by surprise. I mean, he hit it going the other direction and almost yanked the rod out of my hand.
That's a nice one.
The next day I showed up and the fish were still pretty tuned up early in the morning. The shad were everywhere on the surface and the fish were already on them as soon as I got out there. You can tell by the sound of these strikes that a lot of these were big fish. So that was pretty exciting. I knew that there was a lot of wipers around. It wasn't just a school of white bass. Sometimes the white bass can be pretty aggressive and they can steal it from the wipers. You can see that there were fish everywhere. There was a boat on my left. There was a bunch of people fishing on the bank. It was really busy. So I was kind of pinned in here. I had to kind of stay where I was and hold my ground. So this was kind of my spot, and that's kind of what you get on the weekend. Sometimes I get so excited to cast back in when they're really going off that I almost forget to show the fish off. This was a perfect situation because I had all the fish right in front of me. There was some on the surface, but I knew that there were a lot under the surface because I was getting hit like crazy.
Hey.
This is the kind of thing that happens on a weekend. You get boats driving through and doing stuff like this. Obviously I was in a high traffic area, but it's really unfortunate that this guy drove right through the school of wipers. He must not have been a wiper fisherman because he would have probably stopped and thrown some casts, but he didn't really care. Surprisingly though, as soon as that boat went by, the fish started blowing up again. So they did not even care that that boat drove right over the top of them. They were still tuned up.
Oh. Sorry, I don't mean to get in your way. I'll get out of the way once I catch this.
There's a guy right there on the bank, and I was trying to give him enough room so that we weren't casting over each other. He was casting to the school and I was casting to the school, but we were never crossing paths. But once this fish hooked up and started running towards the bank, it ran right towards him, so I knew that I was kind of getting too close to him.
Oh shoot, I lost him.
I had a little bit of bad luck there. I hooked 2 good wipers in a row and they both popped off. So this day did not start out exactly how I had pictured it. These fish were so powerful and they were ripping out lines so fast, they were causing my drag to make sounds that I'd never heard it make before.
Gotta land one here.
I didn't have to do much editing here. It's like this was 3, 4, 5 casts in a row. I was casting to that spot and I was getting hit. There must have been a bunch of fish under the water right there. I was kind of nervous on this fish because I had lost the previous 2, so I was like, if I lose 3 in a row, I'm going to be really mad.
There we go, finally landed one. lost a couple others just about the same. That's where we're getting these on.
So at this point, the school kind of moved to my left, and they went along the bank and over towards the boat. I didn't want to crowd them, so I just kind of stayed in my area and just kind of mopped up the fish that were left over. This is when I started getting some multi-species action. I started catching some other things besides striped fish. This was a nice walleye that I caught like 2 feet under the surface. So the walleye must have been up trying to catch shad as well.
Put a walleye on the swim bait. Where he's got that. For these last couple of fish, I switched over to a rage swimmer just to try something different. This was the second walleye that I caught way up in the water column. In terms of drag peeling action, I think these were 2 of my better days that I've had in a while. I mean, the previous video that I showed you, I had a lot of drag pulling as well, but the drag was really singing on these days. I mean, it was like these fish were tuned up and they were angry and they were making fast, hard, strong runs. So, all right, so that's it for me. I had a lot of fun on this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you next time. Maybe we'll have some more wiper action. See you later.